Welcome to Podcasting Sucks. Man, I'm here by I'm Jeff Townsend. I've even got the Jeff Townsend shirt on today for the media company.
Looking
Fuzz,
good.
how am I looking?
You're looking good. That looks like a tax write-off to me, my friend.
Exactly. I'm going to trump this thing. Anyways, my good friend Fuzz Martin is with me from Good Morning Podcasters. How are you doing, Fuzz?
I'm doing well, Jeff. Thanks for being here. I guess we're all here together. It's our shared thing. So you're not having me and I'm not having you. We're here. And it's great.
Yeah, it really is. There's a lot going on. Of course, I'm just overwhelmed with stuff as usual, right? Like just trying to keep up and not drown in podcasting work on top of my other work. So yeah, it's been pretty awesome, man. I'm excited the next few weeks. I'm going to have off work just to get caught up on work. And
nice.
Yeah, I know it sounds lame, but yeah, I'm excited.
That's real good. I'm taking a day off of work to go get my daughter from college so she can come home and see her boyfriend. Good family stuff.
Teenage love.
Teenage love.
Your mic sounds extra like powerful today, man. It's got like a crisp echo, like not even echo, just like a
presence.
Yeah. I don't even know how to describe it.
I don't know. I didn't change anything. It's the same way it's been last time.
Maybe you're just less enthusiastic. You seem really tired. Are you like me? Because, dude, I tell you what, I'm exhausted. Like, I don't know how much longer I can go like this, but I'm trying.
I agree with you. Yes, I am exhausted. I had some things go on this week and last with work, just trying to make stuff happen. And I think I'm a little tired.
You can tell.
This isn't an ad for BetterHelp.com, which all the podcasts are working with.
Yeah.
But they're pretty good. So
yeah,
I'll just say, kind of a godsend at this time of year.
Oh, really? I've never even used it. I'm not going to lie. I've heard good things about it though, for sure.
Yeah. No, it's good. I recommend if you need it, it's good. So,
and he has an affiliate link.
I don't, but I should.
I'm just kidding.
You're looking extra Bill Burrish today. Now that I'm looking at
you.
Yeah.
I'm trying. I've been eating unhealthy.
You playing the drums a lot? Yeah.
I've been playing the drums a lot, bro. I've been drumming out. Yeah, I got a little gray going here. Yeah.
I saw Bill Burr. It was probably a month ago now in Madison, Wisconsin. And I went with a really good friend of mine, but we're both, 44. It was a Sunday night concert and they had really bad traffic management. So we got there like 40 minutes before the show was supposed to start. And we finally got in about 10 minutes before the show was supposed to start. And it didn't start for an hour and a half after it was supposed to start. So we ended up leaving early because we're old and we knew if we left early, we'd get out of the parking lot first. And you know what? Best part of the night.
Beating the crowd.
Yeah, beating the crowd. Always leave early.
Before we get into this, Bill Burr actually came on my radar back on the in the Chappelle Show in the early 2000s. He was awesome on the Chappelle Show.
I loved the Chappelle Show, and I just was talking about a friend about this today when I was in college at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater, which is like one of the local offshoots of the university system. Chappelle came to our campus, and I was sitting in the front row for one of his things my freshman year of college, and he made fun of me on stage, and people still talk about it to this day of how he called me a big burly MFer, and that in Wisconsin, our moms don't give birth, we birth ourselves. And then he went through this whole spiel of me giving birth to myself. It was pretty funny. So
yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it was a good memory. Good memory.
Those are moments that'll last forever. What do you have on the agenda for today, Fuzz? Of course, I'm not prepared.
I want to talk about websites. I want to talk about websites. We talk about, so podcasting sucks. We talk about the things that go into podcasting that are sometimes hard to do and add extra time. And it's sometimes you wonder, is it worth it all? And I want to talk today about websites and what are you doing for your podcast website? Maybe some ways to make it easier and things that you can do to tighten up your workflow. Sound good?
Sounds sexy. Let's do it.
Sexy. So, we've talked about ways to tighten up your process in a way that will help, cut out some of the fat so that your, podcasting can be hard. It can suck, if you will. And you got to prioritize. And when it comes to websites, there's a whole bunch of different ways that you can do a website for a podcast. And some of them are completely hands off, and some of them are really hands on.
Yeah.
And some of the hands on stuff can lead to really big SEO and different kind of opportunities for monetization. And some of the hands off stuff can lead to you not burning out. So it's kind of a balance of where things go, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So I want to ask, for your websites, what typically are you doing for your podcast websites?
As of late, I have been going with a little bit more of because I have so much going on, I've really gone with a hands-off approach. So I've partnered with Podpage, and now actually I've been working with podcastpage.io.
Yep.
And that's the route I've been going, because I also do have so many different sites and things going on. So that's actually been a big relief for me. Like you said, it's a very timely thing to go in with, like what I'm sure you're doing, like a WordPress or something. I don't know that, but that's very timely. And I'll get into like because obviously talked to a lot of other podcasters, like some of the things I get with that. But for me, it's more of that hands-off approach. It's still a website. Obviously, there's still some not so bad on the CEO end. I don't think it gets the rap for. That's a whole other discussion of its own. Sure. But no, that's what I'm doing. I'm using my RSS feed basically to it kind of automates and sets it up, and then you just modify it basically. But podcastpage.io, you have like even a little bit more customizing you can do than on Podpage when I used it. So cool drag and drop features and stuff makes it simple.
So I use, for the 3 different podcasts that I'm actively on, I use 3 different types of websites. So I'm using podcastpage.io for 15 minutes with Fuzz, and I'll talk about some of the benefits of that. I'm using WordPress for my wife's site, which gets pretty deep and intricate, but it's also pretty easy to update and familiar to update. And then for Good Morning Podcasters, I'm using Squarespace, which I got an okay deal on, but I kind of have buyer's remorse at this point. So
yeah,
let's talk about podcastpage.io. Since you're working with that, I am a big fan of that, because what podcastpage.io and what podpage.com, is it right? Podpage.com?
Yeah, yep, correct.
Both of those different sites, they're different brands, but both of those will pull your RSS feed in, and they will create a website page, or a separate web page based on every single episode of your show. So a new show updates, it pulls in from the RSS feed, takes your show notes, takes some of the other features from that, and populates a web page on your domain.
Yeah.
So that, for instance, if you go to 15withfuzz.com for my hyper local show, every single episode has its own page that is automatically generated by the RSS feed. The things that I love about podcastpage.io is it will automatically take my transcript if I've got it in Captivate. So Captivate has a transcript area. Some of the other hosts have that as well. It will automatically take that and post that. It will take my dynamic show notes, post those things. It gives me a separate URL for every single page, and you can go in and edit it pretty easily. So
you can make it yeah, exactly.
The only thing that and this is not a podcastpage.io complaint, it's more of a RSS feed standard complaint, is I wish that the open graph, so the social sharing image, was a part of the RSS feed, so that you could, when you upload your show graphics or your episode graphics, you could upload a new graphic for social sharing into the RSS feed.
Yeah.
Because then when it comes time to share, like, my workflow is, once I've got my episode posted and it goes live, then I'll go in and edit the post, add in a social graphic that's it's like 1200 by 680, and that will then I'll go and share it on social media and things like that. But I'd prefer if I could just upload it and not have to worry about going in and editing it. But again, that's an RSS feed thing. So
We actually talked about this on Podcasting Power Hour. 2 weeks ago. I'm not sure if you were even there, Fuzz. The show notes thing is a big topic, and it's pretty irrelevant for a podcast app, for example. You're not like your show notes aren't worth much value if I'm on Apple Podcasts looking for a podcast, for example. But to counter that, when you are on putting them on a website, that's a little bit more of a game changer in regards to discoverability. So you're not going to get the discoverability from podcast player necessarily like you will the same as the web per se.
The cool thing also with podcastpage.io and podpage.com is it automatically drops the player in there. So when that episode goes live, there's a player there. All of your links to subscribe are there. All those things are included in every single page, and you don't have to go and create anything really. So, but when it comes to WordPress is super easy to use. Have you ever had a WordPress site, Jeff?
Yeah. I would not say it's easier than what we just talked about, though.
No, it's not easier to use than what we're talking about. No, than those pages. Now, what it does allow is extreme customization. So you can go in and customize the site to look how you want it to fit into your brand, those kind of things. When it comes time to post, it's pretty easy. You just click on a new post and you can put it all in there, but it's really that setup portion of it that is the hard part, is getting your template right, getting things set up in that regard, and then building that out. Now, when you go to create a post, you're going to have to paste in, likely, unless you've got a plugin, you're going to have to paste in a player embed from Captivate or whatever host you're using. Every single one of the hosts has one of those. You'll have to paste that in, or use a plugin like PodPress from Blueberry or something like that. And then you write your post, and you're going to have to add in images and those kind of things. But it's not, once it's up and running, it's not so hard. The price depends on who your host is, because the software is free itself, but the hosting is what costs money.
Yeah.
What does podcastpage.io cost? Like $8 or $9 a month, I think, or $10. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I should probably look that up.
Yeah, because I'll be honest, I don't pay for it.
Well, I wish I didn't pay for it.
Yeah.
Page.io pricing. Let's see. What do we got here?
That's where the hype man thing comes into play, Fuzz.
I know, man. You need to hype me up on So a podcaster is $12 a month billed annually. So $144 a month, or $144 a year if you bill it annually. Monthly, it's at $15 a month. So whatever 144 plus 36 is. So it's not free, but that's going to cost you. It's probably as cheap as you're going to get.
Yeah. Because to me, WordPress is not really, I wouldn't call it easy unless you spend money on plugins. I think that's when, for me, it's easier, because without that, it's not quite the same. Then you're paying for that. So, I mean, you can, in the end, the price is probably pretty comparable. I don't know how many plugins that you rock and roll with, but a lot of people have several that can take their monthly cost up beyond what we're discussing with podcast page or pod page.
Yeah, it does jack that up somewhat. And I would say that it's kind of a hidden cost, because you pay like $59 for one, and it's, an annual fee, and you don't think about it, you just pay that, $59 at one time. And then, so like my wife has a directory for educational technology on her site. So we update it. It makes it like easy to search and all this stuff, but it costs like $26 for one plugin, and then $60 for the other, and those kind of things. Those add up.
And they help, though. They help, though.
Yeah, they totally help. But it's just what you put into it. Now, if you're going to go real simple, I would just say, like, you could get away with nothing if you have the right host. Like, again, I'm always talking about Captivate just because I use Captivate, but like,
same here.
Captivate like their websites are really good that they have
Yeah.
on there, and they're super customizable. They come with the hosting program. You don't need to buy anything else. They're not as customizable as page.io, and they're definitely none of those are as customizable as WordPress, but they're going to, if you want to put minimal effort into it and still have it look good and still have shareable links for every different episode, then your host's website option might be good, and you could still use a custom domain name and
Yeah.
those kind of things. That could be worth it. If you go check out gmp.fm, that'll show you an example of a Captivate site. That's for the Good Morning Podcaster site. This episode will be on there if you go and check that out. I use it for the short links for, like gmp.fm/news and those kind of things. Like you can go to those links and it'll bring you to different places. But if you just go to gmp.fm, it'll take you to my Captivate site.
Yeah. When we talked about, I don't want to go off on I could talk all day about Captivate just like you, but we went
Yeah.
through this process of talking about workflow importance and all that. And that's something like a Captivate is really continues to be innovative in that regard, integrations, things like that. So that's absolutely critical. But from what I experience, I talk to a lot of like brand new podcasters, let's say brand new.
Mhm.
And in this, I'm gonna get political here. In this country, this website design and stuff is not taught at the youth level. So a
Mhm.
lot of people are not comfortable with it at all. It's definitely something I think that's kind of been, I don't say you need to code even. I'm just saying like WordPress knowledge is still really low. And I think that's something that's a gap. But because of that, it's intimidating to them. And you just open up the word page. I mean, you wouldn't know what WordPress, I'm saying, sorry. You wouldn't know
Yeah.
what to do, right? You'd just be lost.
Mhm. Mhm.
But there's YouTube videos and stuff these days as well, but it's not as commonly taught as I think it probably should be. But that intimidates people really bad. And it's probably a good thing when you first start that that's not the first thing you're worrying about, to be honest.
I only know WordPress, and I take it for granted how much people don't know about it because it was 2002 when I was working at the radio station. They did not have a website.
Mm,
And so I learned WordPress and learned PHP coding at the time because you needed to know how to do PHP coding. And I built the first website for the radio station I worked for. And I also I actually created my blog first at that point in order to kind of do proof of concept. So I was like, I don't know, 24 and it was
yeah.
like doing that on the side to make that happen. So I I appreciate that it takes a lot to learn that and to get
Yeah.
that up and running. And they make it a lot easier now with builders like Elementor, which is a plugin which goes into WordPress. You still have to learn how to do that. There's not a ton of like actual hand coding anymore, but it can be intimidating if you're not familiar with it. So,
Yeah.
which brings me to why I tried Squarespace. Is I wanted to spin up a website quick when I was running for office locally here, and instead of going through all the customizing a WordPress site, I got a Squarespace site. I was able to get that up and running quickly, and then I thought, okay, well, when I'm doing GMP, and well, you were involved with the the whole like getting that up and running and all that.
Yeah.
The I just wanted it to happen quickly, right? So I
Yep.
started a Squarespace site, and there is so much more involved, even though like there's not as much on the front end of getting like the design ready because they've got templates that look pretty good.
Exactly. Yeah.
But man, every single time I post an episode, it's the amount of steps I have to go through in order to make that happen are tough. So I kind of wish I would have went with podcastpage.io, but I got a sweet deal. So I paid for the year, and I'm like $250 in. And now I'm like, well, I feel bad, if I were to switch, but kind of comes down to that sunk cost fallacy, right? So is it better for me to just eat the cost and do it quickly with something like podcastpage.io, or is it better to keep putting all the time? Is it worth it more to put all the time that I'm putting into updating a Squarespace site every week, or 4 times a week with 3 episodes of Good Morning Podcasters and this episode of Podcasting Sucks? What is more worth it?
There's kind of a flip side to this too, that this conversation should probably go to, because the reality of this is it happens to people. Some people might rely on something like social media to house all of their content, to be the home of all their content. Let's give YouTube as an example.
Mhm.
You never know when that's gone.
Yep.
What are you going to do next? So I think you really have to have something to, let's say if YouTube just decided, and this does happen, Fuzz, you get hacked, for example. My buddy Chris Van Vliet, he's got hundreds of millions of views, right? He got hacked, lost that account for a week. He got it back. Then there's people that just break the rules of conditions accidentally, right? And they just lose everything. They monetize their whole life off of YouTube. And just like that, it is gone.
Mm-hmm.
So there's another part to this that's pretty significant that doesn't get thought about as much, I think. Twitter goes down. Remember that one day it was down like half a day. Everybody was freaking the heck out. How am I going to get a hold of all these people? Well, you should be able to go to the website. And let me give you a cool example of that, Fuzz. Evo Terez reached out to me on the website, right? He deleted his Twitter. So he randomly, he goes to my contact page. Boom. He knows how to get a hold of me, right?
Yep.
We don't have each other's phone numbers yet. Maybe one day. But no, my point is that he goes to the website. He finds me. That's how he contacts me. So when if something were to happen one day to your content or whatever that platform is, you could be in trouble if you didn't have yourself covered.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, when you have your own domain that you're hosting somewhere, like you own that. I mean, the domain host or whatever could, go away, but it's easy to back those things up. Twitter, I mean, just as we're recording this episode, there were like 6 really big figures who had their accounts pulled today. And, that was kind of their big thing. And that could happen to anybody. And your point with YouTube, you maybe you're using a music bed that isn't licensed from somewhere, or you didn't know it wasn't licensed, or, accidentally or whatever. You get a strike and you're out. And then so are you backing up all your content? Where is it? But mostly, once that rug's pulled out from underneath you, how do you reestablish yourself? So it's tough hosting your own stuff, but it is important that I think that you have your own space. That does go to say, though, that like places like podcastpage.io and podpage.com, I'm not expecting it. I hope nothing happens ever with them, but you look at like sounder.fm where they're like, okay, well, this isn't working, so we're calling it a day. Or what was the one, the newsletter place that just went
Review.
out? Review. So those go away and you got to start from scratch, right? Having your own place, and that's where I think WordPress shines a bit. Squarespace, I don't think is going anywhere because Squarespace is huge and owned by Square and all. So, but yeah, it's and the other part of it all too that we need to talk about is SEO, and that is an important part of people being able to find your show. Having a domain name that people, that you can use for your calls to action, and that people are going to find on your site, find your site easily, and also making sure your content is optimized so that when people are searching for the things that you're looking for, that they're going to find it. So
I apologize.
By the
Somebody
way,
turned on the washing machine here behind me. The Townsend studio has the laundry room behind it. So somebody's out there whipping up some laundry.
Well, I hope they're getting clean, but you know what? You might hear it, but I don't hear it at all through the microphone. So
sounds like a damn bazooka going off. Anyway, no, I think my big worry, Fuzz, especially with people that are doing really well on YouTube, they're still podcasters. They actually get more views than they do downloads. Something were to happen there and you didn't have somewhere where people could go, that is really rough. I realize that everything like the podcast page and all that is also a platform. But if you literally have all your eggs in one basket, this has been a big topic with Twitter lately, right? Like you're hustling your butt off to go get on Post or whatever, or mass. I don't. I almost said Master.
Mastodon, yeah,
Yeah.
Post News, you name them. Yep.
But that's a really dangerous thing to be involved in. Aside from all the other just good practices of SEO and everything we're talking about, you got to really consider if something were to happen, what would be a plan. I'm not saying be a doomsday prepper, but it's really probably a good idea and pretty inexpensive. And it goes back to what we said before. Do you want to spend money? It's a pretty inexpensive way to have that there.
Yeah. And so build yourself a podcast bunker in case things go sideways.
Absolutely.
So that people can still find your stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So a podcast doomsday prepper, Jeff Townsend.io.
And I'll say one other thing that cracks me up. I'll say, hey, do you have a website? Send me, like, people want me to listen to their podcast a lot.
Yeah.
Hey, what's your website? They'll send me Spotify, Apple Podcasts link. It's like, oh, okay. But then there's the link tree, right?
Yep.
And some people legitimately think that's a website. So I think this is important to touch up on before we close up shop here. It doesn't quite work the same as having your own website.
Correct. If you have one that is your own domain name,
where you can pay for it.
Yeah, where you can say, go to, fuzzmartin.com and it takes you to a link tree. That's not horrible. I mean, it's still not great, but if you have something where you can say to somebody, like, here's an easy place to go that I can just tell you, or I can use as a call to action on the show, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's a big thing. But if you're, follow me on Spotify, follow me on Apple Podcasts, whatever that might be, it is, sometimes your show isn't going to show up when you say like, it's true crime, details or something. Well, okay. Well, there's going to be 77 of those at least when you type that in. So get your own URL, own it.
It took a few weeks for Indiana Stories to pop up. It did take a few weeks on iTunes. I would go and search, is it going to come up? Then once it started getting downloaded, it did. But you're right. It's not even even if there's not another podcast named that, it doesn't pop up first.
When it comes to podcasting, a lot of things suck and a lot of things are hard, but you need to own your own presence and your own brand. And that means having a website is part of that. Now, whether you want to go in and go the light way and have it pulling in and off your RSS feed, that's totally okay. You can do that. You work with podcastpage.io. If you're better with websites and you want to go to something like Squarespace or WordPress, definitely something you can do. But you need to be there and you need a home base for your show that is not one of the podcatcher's URLs.
Yeah, it's for us, it's like that next level thinking as well, right? As far as the process of podcasting. Obviously, then you bring in things like website analytics and you get to see other things. How are my call to actions working and all that? So beyond just the beginning stages of what we've talked about, we won't get into it right now, but really the website thing can be a whole other level of getting to that next level of the podcasting skill. I'm not even talking about download skill, right? I'm just talking about how serious you take it and growth and stuff. Once you understand that, you obviously have a little bit more of an advantage, or you should.
Yep. Got a place for your, to track your analytics and see how things are going. Got a place to promote your newsletter. You got a place for merchandise. You've got all those things. Got a place for premium subscriptions. And, but if you don't have it, it won't come. And you know what? Then podcasting is going to suck harder. So
it's going to suck big time, my friend. But we're going to try to make it suck less. We're going to try to keep doing this and make it suck less for everybody. That's our goal. We don't like it when it sucks.
No, nobody wants this to suck. We want this to be fun. That's why we're doing it, right? We're not doing it for our health.
Exactly.
We're doing it because we love doing this part of it. But talking into a microphone and interacting with your friends is only a part of podcasting, there's a whole lot else that goes into it. And that's what we try to cover. So we appreciate you listening to Podcasting Sucks. This comes out on Saturday mornings. You can find it on the Good Morning Podcasters feed and on YouTube, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's video now. Our faces are everywhere, man.
Yeah. I got to comb my hair before we go on.
I got the hat. I just roll with the hat, man. It's like, I don't have a nice set of hair like you do. I don't know if it's the stress in my life or what, but I'm losing hair at a rapid rate now.
Yeah, well,
Anyways,
I have a giant
Fuzz.
head, so I don't have a lot of hats that fit. I guess that's the problem. Well, I hope that all goes well for you. And I have a board meeting on Monday night, so we'll see if I can make Podcasting Power Hour happen. But if I can't, thanks for all you do.
You too, Fuzz. I almost said man fuzz. I said it together. But there's one thing for sure. Podcasting sucks, but not when you're with us.
Thanks for listening.
How's that?
The finger guns made it happen.